somehow I felt this is no longer my world, and I turned back into the more cognitive world. And now I'm on the quest, probably. I am like, what could be a spirituality for me without the whole, let me call it woohoo, and a more grounded spiritualities. Hi, and welcome to Lead Well.
Just like in our life, as we grow and we get older, sometimes we have to let go of old notions, old constructs, sometimes relationships, in order to expand our consciousness, in order to discover more of life, more of ourselves.
My guest today is Colette Lafia, an award-winning writer, retreat leader, a spiritual director based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Hi, Colette.
Hi, Christine. Nice to be here.
So for many years, Colette, you have guided people into deeper contemplative practice through retreats and workshops and one-to-one spiritual direction. And you have a new book, Leaving the Shore, Experiencing Poetry as a Prayer. And that is something I'm really looking forward to because my mom was a lot into poetry, and at school I had to memorize it, but I'm not really someone who reads a lot of poems these days. So you explore how poetry can become more than something we just read or analyze, so that it can become a practice of presence, a way of slowing down, of listening more deeply and reconnecting with the sacred in everyday life. So in this conversation, I'm looking forward to talking about poetry, prayer, attention, unlearning, and why simple moments, a meal, a sleepless night, a line of poetry can become doorways into something much deeper. Welcome again, Colette.
Thank you.
So the title of your book is Leaving the Shore. So what are we leaving behind when we leave the shore?
That's such a wonderful question. I think for me, the leaving the shore is a way of sometimes going beyond what we might assume, what we might know, especially around in the spiritual life. Many of us are schooled in a certain framework of the holy and those kind of things. But I think the interior journey of discovering that spiritual nature within yourself. And so in order to do that, sometimes we need to let go, or we need to, what we call in spiritual direction, discover the more of the holy, the more of the divine that is wanting to be offered to us. So we're leaving the shore, just like in our life, as we grow and we get older, sometimes we have to let go of old notions, old constructs, sometimes relationships, in order to expand our consciousness, in order to discover more of life, more of ourselves.
And it's a great way of putting it, so that I need to leave something behind when I want to see something new.
Yeah, yeah.
Some,
Sometimes in the
mm,
spiritual life, we talk about shedding, releasing, going into something that the unknown in order for something new to emerge. And
mm,
people that are creative know this too. You have to almost have a sense of disorder or and not quite knowing before
mm.
something can emerge.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And so your way of discovery is then poetry.
Yeah, in this particular book, poetry.
Oh,
This is my fourth book. And in my
mm,
other few books, I did more what's called creative nonfiction. So I
mhm,
was exploring spiritual concepts through narrative and that in a different way. But yeah,
mm,
this one was through poetry. And I do find, and I have now for the last 6 months since the book was released, leading people in contemplative experiences around the book, mainly a practice called, which is
mhm.
a Christian practice rooted in the 5th century Benedictine tradition. And it's just a way of slowing down and pausing when you read and allowing the text to become very personal and see what it's speaking to you. A lot of times people approach poetry. What does this mean? I have to
Mhm.
get the meaning of the poem, or that there's a static meaning to the poem. But in many ways, there isn't. You can enter a poem at any point, and you can let one line, one image, one cadence of rhythm in a poetry just open something up in you. And so that's how I've been engaging with poetry as prayer with other people.
Now, I feel like a lot of people these days are almost intimidated by poetry. So there is this poetry from the past, ancient books, classical literature, and then there is the very modern way of expressing things. But poetry really seems to me has lost a bit of ground. So why do you think that's the case? And what is the entry point to get back into it?
I think having studied creative writing in it as an undergraduate, there's a whole world of that poets, and tradition, and history, and it's all has its place. But I think it has its place at the cost of excluding sort of the rest of us, the common person. In some ways, that's what I think in the introduction I talk about this unlearning. I learned that concept from Richard Rohr when I studied with him. He's a person who really says we have to unlearn certain things. And so, even creating a new concept of poetry. When I worked with kids, I was a school librarian for 20 years. They didn't have all of this encumbrance about
Mhm.
poetry. They just laughed at the lines or liked the sound of skip and drip and moment and donut, and they just loved the language and the way it made their body feel, and they enjoyed it. And so I went back to that. So my poems, though I think they are deep, they're accessible. They're accessible. You're not sitting there trying to heavily decode a poem. And I think there is a place for that. There's a place for academic poetry. And so people have different intentions with poetry. So I think to reclaim it is to just invite yourself to enjoy, to say,
Mhm.
oh, let me see of a line. Let me see of an image. Let me see of a metaphor. Let me see if this just speaks to me in a very, very simple way. And let it be that. Let it
Mhm.
be that. And so I think there's something really lovely. Why don't I read this very simple poem from my book called In the Turning? Breath of my eyes, do more than see. Recognize this spring morning. Glimpse the lilac. It is none other than God. Show me the undivided way. Water below waves, unbroken air. Union, preserve me, my heart in the turning of winter to spring, mud soaked in radiant love. Wildflowers dress the empty hills, dots of orange poppies and purple irises. Oh, how such beauty arrives after a long, stormy season, after the fear filled nights, wind rattling the thin window panes. Teach me how I am known inside this knowing, the way an index finger draws the shape of a heart on a steamed up window. Let me remember what my cells hold, that the sun, the Uber driver, the breeze, and I, we are all of one substance, divine. So then,
Mm.
after I read that, I just invite a person, find a word, find an image that might speak to you. And then you just can sit quietly with that word and see what it might awaken in you, like the undivided way, and just relax into that. Invite yourself to see if that opens up anything. And then I do invite people into bringing that longing or that prayer into whatever is God for them. And then the last, they just rest in that. And then that's all. So it's very simple. You take
Mm.
something you read, you take a line, an image, and you just let it soak into you for a moment. See if it awakens anything in you. And then you just let go in a moment of quiet. Yeah.
Like contemplation. And you're depicting a lot of images in your poetry.
Yes, yeah. Simple images, everyday images,
Hmm.
emotions in them. So my poems, I feel as I've been sharing them, they've been very accessible to people because
Hmm.
they talk about our ordinary experience, which is really where it's all happening. In the car, a night when you might feel some fear, looking at the wildflowers, the mud after the rains of spring. These are everyday experiences. And it's in our everyday experiences that things awaken, that we know life and we even know the depth of life through these very concrete experiences that we're having in the body, in
Mm.
our life, in nature, with each other. In the everyday, I often tell people that I have in spiritual direction, your spiritual life isn't another life. It's this life.
I started off being a very cognitive person. And then I discovered spirituality for me. And that is about 25 years ago. And for about 10 years, 15 years, maybe even, I considered myself to be a really spiritual person. I was into healing, had a lot of interactions and contact with other healers, with very spiritual people. And somehow I lost the connection there. So somehow I felt this is no longer my world, and I turned back into the more cognitive world. And now I'm on the quest, probably. I am like, what could be a spirituality for me without the whole, let me call it woohoo, and a more grounded spirituality. So the question to you is, what is spirituality to you? How would you describe it?
I really appreciate your description because it shows that it's not stagnant. So you're not going to just arrive, I've got it, I'm here. And so I really love the way you were honest in your journey about, okay, something like there's seasons in our spirituality. Sometimes and to give ourselves the freedom to see it as something that will grow and change with us, and that God is a dynamic, participatory energy that we're connecting to, not something static. And so I think for me, spirituality is just what you're talking about, is a journey of sincere longing and seeking for connection, deep connection to self, to others, to nature, to all of life, and to the source of life.
That sounds wonderful. The question that immediately arises is, can this also be or become a form of escape from what really is, from reality, from whatever happens around
Yeah.
us?
Yeah. For me, never.
Mm.
Like I said, spirituality is my life. So, spirituality, when I was at work in the library, spirituality is here at my house with my husband. Spirituality is volunteering at a food bank. So, I don't separate. And I think true spirituality does not separate. It
Mhm.
really seeks a wholeness, it seeks an integration, it seeks, I guess I am a person of service. So to me, spirituality and service to the good of the whole are inseparable for me. And
Mm.
so what I appreciate though, what you're saying is there sometimes that we might need to withdraw more and soak in, and that's okay. But to always be coming back and checking in with ourselves. And to me, spirituality is a connected sense. So I always ask myself, how is my spirituality serving and connecting?
So the intent behind is rather like a form of embracing, connecting, as you call it,
I love that.
rather than And I have experienced that. That's why I kind of
Yeah.
probably was withdrawn. Like I'm enlightened and I know better than everyone else what's
And it
going on over
separates
here.
you. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yeah. And that I think is around.
Mm.
I know exactly what you're saying, but I really appreciate and I think your word, what is your intention? And I do think that's important to check in. And what I'm really noticing in you is you noticed something felt off balance eventually to you. And you're like, this doesn't feel as though I'm in harmony with the whole, and you checked yourself on it, and you left the shore like you had. So this leaving the shore is a constant movement. Like right now I'm in a leaving the shore period. I think if we begin to see our spirituality as living and give ourselves the freedom for that.
Yeah, living and also opening up to new experiences, to new forms of observing, to new forms of experiencing the world.
Yes,
That's
experiencing the
oh,
world. Exactly. And maybe it could be even new forms of practice and
mm,
connection. That's why I'm finding that this practice with poetry is
mhm,
actually an opening for a lot of people. Like I have some people that have been journeying with me with this book. And at first they were so like, I'm not a poetry person. But as time has gone on and they've been engaging with the book and doing the simple contemplative practice with the book, they're like, oh, yeah. This is accessible to me. This isn't for those people. And so I think it's part of, even with our spiritual life, is reclaiming. It's
mm.
reclaiming it. Yeah.
So, what does your practice look like on a daily basis?
For me, I do engage in a form of meditation called centering prayer. It's a
Hmm.
Christian form of meditation, and I do find that some kind of quieting practice every day is really important for me to just connect more deeply within so I can live from that place, not just surface reacting all the time. So I would say some kind of quieting practice, mainly centering prayer. And then I do enjoy Lectio, this simple way of reading. I could read anything. I could read maybe a little snippet from the mystics or even a poem or, and I love to just take a word that speaks to me and
Hmm.
play with it. Just say,
Hmm.
oh, let this word sit in me. What might it be opening up? And then I do really enjoy journal writing. I love just jotting, and I like to do it by hand. There's something about that experience of actually physically moving my hand on a page, and I give myself a lot of freedom to write in lists, to write. I don't write all in paragraphs at all. I give
Okay.
myself freedom for that so that it's more playful. And then
Hmm.
I have to say something that's really important to me is trying to connect to the natural world somehow, whatever that could be, is really important. And then my day-to-day spiritual life is just my home life. Caring for myself, caring for my husband, caring for the food and those and well-being and those kinds of things. Yeah.
Mm.
Mm. So
Another question comes up
yeah.
because I know you live in the San Francisco area, and that's a very vibrant, energetic, young area. So, how can you cope with that energy and that environment when you are such a spiritual, grounded person?
That's such an interesting question because as this is always buzzing with the newest advancements of technology, the newest restaurant or cocktails. And so that kind of energy is all always around us. But there's another energy. There's the park and the beauty of people enjoying the Golden Gate Park, which I live nearby and I'm around all the time. So I think as everybody does in the world, you find your place and you ask yourself honestly what nurtures me, what doesn't, and what is mine and what is not mine,
Mhm.
and learning to see how we're all pieces of the whole, and as they would say in the living school, what is yours to do? Take your place in the whole and trust that.
And being very aware of where you are and what the environment feels like.
Yes, and I like that so much, Christine, and being honest about that. That kind of environment, that vibe, that energy, that's not really feeding what's deepest in
Mm.
me, what's more important in me. And then going in the direction or the place that might.
So I know a lot of people these days feel quite anxious because there's a lot of uncertainty and it's growing. And a lot of people also feel disconnected. A lot of people I'm working with, they almost want to withdraw from the human world and cling on to the animals because they're much more, yeah, pure and less hectic and less frantic. So what kind of simple practice would you offer someone who is feeling this anxiousness and this
Mhm.
uncertainty these days?
Yeah, I think something that's really simple is just inviting people into their breath. And it doesn't mean it has to be like a formal breath practice like pranayama or something like that, but just like a simple way to just allow them to just connect, just feel some connection within themselves. And even a moment of quiet. And it's just a few, just so I do that a lot with the people I work with. We just, even if it's just for a minute, just breathing in. I know I am breathing in and breathing out. So that's very simple.
Mm.
And then another one is sometimes just feeling your body, like feeling your feet on whatever they're touching, feeling your back, feeling the air on your face. Another practice that I've been learning, which has been helping me with anxiety, is also just this practice called orientation, which is very simple, where you just look around where you are. You don't judge it, but you said, oh, there's the lamp and a chair and the window and the desk. And I feel the air on my skin coming into the now. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's, and this is something even for me, like so much anxiety about what might happen or
Mm-hmm.
all I can't control, which is so buzzing. And it's just
Mm-hmm.
like, how do I just place myself here? And so I think those are a few simple practices. And then also, I really love the practice of gratitude. Just from time to time, I'm grateful right now. I'm here. I'm able to talk with Christine. I'm grateful I've had my breakfast this morning.
Yeah.
Just like very slow it way down because it's, and I'm in that too. I'm in that I buzz and
Mm.
I hum on a constant level of anxiety, which so then I think which attracts me to these places that can get below that or to hold that in a more nurturing way. Those are a few simple things that don't really take much and you don't have to have a belief structure or anything like that. So it's accessible. It's just like a human thing that you could do to help your nervous system.
And you don't need any tools. So you
You
always
don't
have your
need,
breath with you
you always have your breath, you always have
and
your
your eyes.
body and your eyes, exactly.
Yeah.
And that so that you can allow like some gratitude, just some simple things to bring you back into this moment. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Thank you so much, Colette. This was wonderful. This was absolutely wonderful. You brought me back in the present moment.
My book is Leaving the Shore, Experiencing Poetry as Prayer. And it's a very simple book, my friends.
And it's a very different type of book. It's very different from all the other self help books out there. It made me really curious.
Yeah, and that's a wonderful thing, right? Curiosity is a wonderful way to get your energy sort of feeling alive again. Yeah,
Absolutely.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Christine. This was so joyful, and all the best to you with your work and what you're doing as well.
Thank you. Thanks, Colette. Have a wonderful life.
Thank you. Okay, be well. Bye bye.
Well, this was Lead Well. Now, what is the one thing that you're taking away from this episode? Please share in the comments below and do share the podcast with your friends and family, but only if you like it.